Thanks, Bill.
All right, so we've got, welcome everybody. It looks like we have the team minus Mary Ellen and Shelby and Rob. So that's the attendance. And we have Bill. Thank you, Bill. No guests to welcome?
I think we have two, I think.
Do we? Oh, I didn't see guests. Welcome guests, whoever you are. I don't, for some reason, my old iPad doesn't really pick up everything that's going on.
You know, Kevin, if you, and Bill was saying, if you tap on participants, and then I'm not sure on your iPad, but a screen maybe pops up to the right, and there's two tabs. One's panelists, which is
attendees is two. Yeah, there you go.
And then attendees.
Attending list. Joey Lasciavo and Sam Waldman are attending. Welcome attendees. Should we, I don't know how to do this. How do we welcome them so that they can identify themselves if they want and have any public comments?
Sure. Usually what we do for public comment is if somebody would like to speak, you can press the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. That'll show a little blue hand.
Okay, we'll just let them. That's good. All right, sounds good. So at any time, anybody, attendees want to say something or question or anything, just raise your hand, I guess. All right. My first item of business, and I'm not sure that I sent this to everybody, was the minutes from our last meeting to review and approve. I think I sent them to most of you, but I'm not sure if I did. Does anybody comment on them, add to them, subtract from them?
No.
All right, I'm just putting the minutes, but
I approve.
What's that?
I have nothing to add or subtract to the minutes, but I motion to approve the minutes.
Second April. Okay, so Pam motion. Nope, I have to learn how to spell. Here we go. Pam motion and April 2nd. Very good. So the minutes, I'm just putting them up on the Google Drive. I'm just going to leave them there. So look at them as you fit. Pretty much try to put everything up there. All right. So updates.
Excuse me. Is there a folder called meetings?
There's a folder called minutes, I think.
Or I'm sorry, minutes. Yeah.
Minutes. Yeah. There's. So I've started to put I started with the last set of minutes. I put those up there. I'll try to get the other ones. The other ones are Word docs, but this one's a Google Doc. So
yeah, and you can always save them in a PDF. You can just do a save as if you ever wanted to, or just leave.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Would work.
All right, so let's see. I've got our branches of our tree here, and our first branch is our nature/outdoors branch, and underneath that, if you have your agenda, it lists the pollinator pathway, invasive removal, natural resource inventory, and anything else. So let's see, anybody on that? I know Pam, you're on that.
Well, there's nothing new on pollinator pathway or invasives to report. We do need to go to back to Sustainable CT and find out why we didn't get the 5 points for town. Informing the town, because we have a link on Dimitri's website. And I do have more of a question on that, because on Whitney Avenue near the green, there were some plants put in on that retaining wall, and I'm wondering if those would qualify. I don't know if that's George's or if that's Dimitri's realm, but those could qualify for pollinator pathway for 2021 silver certification. So I want to be in my bonnet to find out whose that was. I don't know, Mary, if you know.
No, you know that I'm not sure, since it was the project that was, went through the that whole green area.
Yep.
And so, I can check if you want and let you know.
If you know, otherwise I can just ask. But I think that I noticed that it looked like mountain mint, so I'm sure Mary Ellen was involved at some point, which is a native.
That's funny. I drove past there today, and I did notice that they were up there, and I was going to ask about that.
I'm hoping that they're natives, and we can use that as an example as we go for certification on that bullet.
That's one of the things that I think going forward, it's probably down further on the list, but for these developments, with the grant funding and everything that we've gotten up by Franco's and Marissa's, so that whole portion, they are putting together, I think it kind of got stopped because of COVID, but there is some signage that's going to be going up to talk about the culvert that they fixed up there, as well as, oh, here comes Mary Ellen now. As well as the green aspect of it, the pavers and everything that they had done up there. So I think for these developments, the apartments coming in, everything like that, we should definitely try to get, whether it's conservation or whether it's us or together, but to get that kind of going for that, so that we know that natives, they did talk about that at the mall, natives are being being planted, not invasives, and then as well as like the pollinator pathway, being able to use that at all of these different areas. So I think that would be great if we could kind of work with P&Z to make sure that either conservation and or us is part of that discussion.
Right, and if they're putting up signage, what goes on the signage? Something maybe we can weigh in on. As you know, I'm working with NRWA on the pollinator pathway on a different project, and I have access to those little signs that we had at our event. So, you know, maybe I could buy a bunch and we can share them with the town, so that anywhere where we're planting natives, that sign can go up and it creates more awareness. But just
Mary Ellen, oh, she's, when she comes back.
Mary Ellen,
I'm here, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Is she here?
I'm such an idiot.
The signs that you had at the library, the pollinator pathway signs, and everybody, I thought that was fantastic. You know, that's what Pam's referring to. But if we could sign that document again and have that going forward, maybe it does come around Earth Day or whatever, but where we are getting people to actively sign that document and put those little signs up that they are. Was that a fundraiser for not for Aspatuck? Who was?
No, that's Pollinator Pathway. So it's available on their website, so anybody can buy a sign for $5. But a lot of local towns, in order to generate their own money, sold them for like $10, so that you could have a resource. So I think we may have talked about this with Kevin a while ago, about having the nature center, or do you need a 501c3 kind of to hold the money? So maybe, so that way we can have our own resource, you know, should we need to buy plants at some point in the future. So
our local garden centers can also sell them.
Yes,
Wanted to.
yep, they can. I had asked, I guess in February, I went to Pure Poetry and asked them that, you know, they have a lot of cool bee-oriented stuff there. So, you know, they might be a place, or some local stores that would have them. But yes, garden center is a great idea for selling them.
We'd probably have to get, I had asked Maria and Therese, who's the auditor, about setting up a special revenue account for us, so that once we did start doing whatever we're going to be doing, to have an account to put money into. They really try to limit those. So I'll have to get back to them and check on that. You know, it's something that they're really trying to kind of cut down on having those. But since we don't have a budget, that would be a great, you know, area to raise some of the funds that we could use.
Just quickly on the pollinator pathway point, I talked to the PTSA president, and she put it out to her board already that they will be hopefully we will have a meeting again in January, but the PTAs will be on board to all have their own pathways, something that they could work on over the summer and be ready to roll out for this next school year.
Cool.
I have 20 of the signs here, my house. So I have 20, and I also have the pledges that you were talking about. And I'm actually still holding the donations here that we got from the February program. So I still have that here, but it would be nice to be able to put these donations somewhere.
Right.
Did the pledge have a, I don't remember, email contact to get information sent out, like on local or any issues we want to talk about?
No, it did not, but we could add that pretty easily. Yeah, it didn't have that. So
No, I missed about a minute. Mary Ellen, is there a web address on that? I think I signed up, but I don't have it in front of me.
no, there's
Okay.
not. there's no web address, but you know, it would be the pollinator-pathway.org is the website, and then we would have our own page like /Trumbull or whatever, which would go to our page on that website, which we haven't worked on yet, I don't think. So
Mel, now that you're here, do you know who was responsible for the plants that were put in on the retaining wall at Whitney Avenue near the Green?
no.
Because it looks like there's some mountain mint in there, and I thought of you immediately.
No.
Okay.
No, along the new sidewalk, you mean? Like,
Well, there's a new retaining wall as you
Yeah.
turn onto Whitney from Maine, or not Maine, yeah, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Turn Whitney, and you go past the stores there, and there's a new retaining wall. And on the retaining wall, they've got new plantings, and I was wondering if it's native.
no, I don't know. I wonder if Dimitri, I don't know. I don't know. That's cool.
And
That'd be
FYI,
great.
there are a couple of apps that are actually pretty good about identifying plants, because plants is not my expertise. But I last summer I was going around identifying what this and that is. And so if there's something like that, and you have the app, some you have to pay like $10 a year, some are free. You can take your camera and your phone, open up the app, and then it'll theoretically identify it. And then we could check a list of invasives and native plants, and if it matches one or the other, then we have a way of knowing what it is. Oh, by the way, Mary Ellen, Vicki swore us in a few minutes ago, and she was wondering, if Bill could notify her, or somebody could text her, and just so you get sworn in at some
Oh,
point.
absolutely. I apologize for that. I was on
That's okay.
another. So sorry. I will do that. So I'll get, okay. I can do that. Thank you. So Richard, okay. Richard, okay. Thank you.
Somebody was asking about who should do, the outdoors branch, conservation or sustainable. And I would vote for both. Conservation has done some of the mailings already. We have a much larger budget than sustainable does. Not very much, but there are things that we can share in this particular one. I wonder if it'd be a good idea to put the people who are involved in each of these branches as a reminder, at least initially.
We have it on the what it was called, the sustainability tree. I've got April and Pam under pollinator pathways. I think Mel belongs there too. And invasive removal, I've got Pam. Tree plan, Pam. Water body improvements, I've got you, Richard. And then NRI related stuff, I have Mary Ellen and Richard.
Okay, good.
Anybody who wants to be on anything, go in there and add your name to the column where it says member, and then you're on there.
So, Pam, can I ask for invasive removal? I know that the NRI showed that we were doing, oh, Vicki's back, we'll wait. Mary Ellen, you're gonna be official now.
Here I am.
Oh, there she is.
Hello.
I'm sorry to make you come back. It was
Oh.
probably-
That is quite all right. I always thank you for all that you do.
Okay.
So do you want to raise your right hand for me?
Yes.
You do solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut and the Charter of the Town of Trumbull, as long as you remain a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge according to law the duties of member of the sustainability team to the best of your ability, so help you God.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now you're all official.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So for the invasive removal, I know the NRI showed that we are pretty good. There's areas that may be creeping back or whatever. I still haven't reviewed that. But is there anything that we need to do going forward for, with Dimitri? I know that to go towards silver, but also things that were like not kind of in the plan beforehand. I mean, we are hitting budget season and budgets are going to be tight very tight again,
Well,
unfortunately.
I know that what James worked on was fairly comprehensive, but as someone who walks the parks with her dog every day, I know that there's a lot of knotweed popping up at Twin Brooks now, and they just did that meadow, so it'd be a shame to have the knotweed come back. So there's certain areas where it's really taking hold. And I don't know if Dimitri's aware of that. I know that mugwort was mentioned by James in his report, and that I've seen there too. And then when it comes to the Pequannock Valley, I know that's a state park, but do we have any say in what happens there? Because there's a lot of switchgrass, stiltgrass, Japanese stiltgrass growing in there, and it's carpeting the whole area. So I don't know. I mean, I could ask Dimitri about Twin Brooks, but with resources being thin, I don't know who would be responsible or if that's a volunteer thing. Can I go in and dig it out? You know?
Oh. Well, I know that in Twin Brooks, Dimitri's been, gosh, it's got to be 5 to 7 years now. He's been trying to manage that mugwort in that meadow area, that metamorphosis area.
Yep.
And it's just a bear, you know. I mean, he's used a team, a licensed pesticide person to put herbicides there regularly, and it still keeps coming back. So that's a really tough one. I've talked with him about that. And then in the river valley, yeah, that is the state, but it kind of falls on the town to do maintenance there. And that stilt grass is, you know, it's so easy to pull out. It's an annual. Yep. So there's a process to get it out before it goes to seed. But when you have large areas like that, it's almost like that and the knotweed. You just have to kind of continue to mow and mow and mow and mow and mow until they get completely exhausted. So, you know, but I think that definitely Dimitri would be the guy that we would have to talk to about that. And if he wants help with it, that, you know, we might be able to get some teams together to help to do some removals. But if we earmark some locations where we want to do plantings, that would be a really good place to start with invasives, removing invasives, because the rule of thumb is to go to the least invaded spot first and move to the most invaded spot. So that's why we should kind of keep that in mind as we pick places to plant for pollinators, because if we can put the aggressive natives in, they can push out the invasives if we do it right.
Right. Okay.
And I guess with that also, when we were talking about the the natural resource inventory, I had emailed Mary Ellen the other day, but just kind of a plan on, you know, we have this great document that we will get points for. It does need to go, you know, on that list for sustainable, but to make sure that we really start going through that document and taking, you know, ideas and next steps. So I know some is probably town related, some can be volunteer related, but for, you know, we talked earlier about ownership of that, and is it conservation is the driver of it, and then it comes out to, you know, the other boards and commissions that have a piece of that pie. So I'm just hoping, I don't know, Mary Ellen, if you're going to be going over that document at a meeting, if there'll be, say, like, I'll say a tri-board for, you know, if you do inland wetlands and us, or how that's going to work. But to really start disseminating that document, I think would be great. Yeah,
I agree. I think it would be excellent. And especially, you know, the fact that Jim put together kind of a wish list of the, you know, and you also mentioned doing, you know, top 10 things, top 10 action steps that we can take from the NRI. That's a really great place to start. So I think, as I mentioned, I don't know when we're going to be able to have another Conservation Commission meeting until we get more, some more folks to fill the seats. But, you know, it doesn't mean that we can't get kind of an ad hoc group together, maybe with representatives from the other land use boards, to really dive into the document a bit more. And then prioritize some of those recommendations. So that's a good idea, Mary. I like that. Having planning and zoning, somebody from P&Z, somebody from inland wetland, town council, conservation, and what's the other one? Land acquisitions. And we can have a Zoom and go through the document.
Yeah, and even if it's members, then it's not an official meeting, so.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good idea, Mary. I like that.
Anything else on any of the nature branch items here? Oh, yes, Pam, could you tell me again, what's the action that we need, we should have gotten points for, that I can pester the sustainable CT people again? What was that number?
I think it was, hold on a second. I have to look at it. It's 2.10, but let me pull up the document and I'll ping you back. Hold on a second.
You can just send it to me in an email with the details, because you did at one point, but I wanted to get that one and the one that Mari was working on.
The solar permitting. Do you need me to resend that one?
I don't think so. I think you sent that to me recently, didn't you?
Yeah, relatively, yeah. If you need to,
so
I can
I'll
just resend it.
Yeah, if you want. Otherwise, I'll find it.
Okay.
I just want to make sure. I want to write these things down at least here in the minutes so that I have a reference point.
And I guess one extra thing just in there, along with all that, I know Pam, you were looking at to increase our tree population of natural species. And so I don't know the best way to go around that. There's a few different ways to do that. And I know schools, sometimes they'll do the, in memory of and things like that. So there's probably a lot of areas that we can kind of look at things. Obviously it has to go with the town, but just curious also with our tree warden, if we want to kind of wrap him into this discussion of sustainability with invasives and natural and what's getting pulled, and is it definitely, I know there was it the watershed group, and that's what they were saying at Norwalk, that there were a lot of trees that were being pulled that they really didn't think were related to power lines and things like that. So I don't know if we want to try to hook that portion in as well to make sure that we're doing smart planting and increase as we go. So I don't know if you've started anything on that.
I haven't started anything on that. I reached out to the tree warden on an unrelated thing, and he's only part-time, I believe, so I was unable to get a hold of him. But Mary Ellen was kind enough to share with me the plan that conservation, I think, put together for the trees. So I have to go through it, and I want to work with you all on it because I think it's important. And I know that at the Pollinator Pathway event last February someone brought up the war on trees in town. So I think it has the public support that we plant more trees. Just how we do it and what we do,
And so just going off of the tree thing, I did some research and I reached out to, I think it was Aquarian NUI, probably last fall, just as I was coming on board, because they have some grant money. And I reached out to them on the behalf of saying, you guys are the ones cutting down most of the trees. It was UI. So if they would have any funding to help economically to help Trumbull replace the trees that they've been taking down. Unfortunately, due to COVID, they didn't have any funds, but it doesn't mean at this point it's not worth reaching out again to see if there's anything that they could do on their front to help us, support paying for putting trees back on people's property. Just an idea.
I know with the storms, it's important that they take down the proper ones, but it is funny if you go and you look back at the plan of conservation development, we were like noted, I'm sure Meryl and Richard know, we were noted for our trees, and it was like award-winning, beautiful, drives in Trumbull. And then, you drive by now and you're like, wow, they're all gone. So, but anyway, that would be a good if we can start looking at that.
Kevin, the initiative was 5 points, was 2.10.3.
Thank you.
Now one idea it's a small idea. We did this in Southington, where the conservation, the wetlands would pass out seedlings. Now, obviously, there's a budget involved with that, but we could also potentially pass out native plants. Again, there's a budget and there's also COVID. Ideally, this would be done in the springtime, but if people were to pick up, trees and seedlings and plants, we could also, pass out a little pamphlet with a link, preferably to more information, so that they get a tree and they may plant it, or a native plant or a pollinator pathway plant, but they also would get education along with that potentially. But I'm not sure, spring is probably going to be too soon for that.
Well, we might be able to tie in with even like Mary Ellen doing the aspetuck plants to maybe, I mean, we have enough time, and since nobody's going to be going out all winter, we have enough time to put something together for Earth Day. And maybe it isn't, since we don't have a budget, but we are encouraging people, whether it's aspetuck or like David Wakeman's or, whatever. I know we keep bantering about Dave back and forth, but to encourage people, maybe there are specific plants that these are native, this is great for sun, this is, because I know when Mariel, when you had all of that out, it was, it was very well done to say, plant this in water, watery area, this is in shade, this is in sun. So something like that, but to encourage people to purchase plants, and we could tie it in with, the sustainable effort, Earth Day and everything, so.
And so, if we limit the selection, I think that's a really good thing. And if we want to focus on trees only, that would be really, I think, simple to do. If we had just like a suite of trees, maybe half a dozen, that of course would be, we would vet, for locations that we could plant them in. But I might suggest that I would be happy to help with this, because this tree maintenance plan, tree management plan in Trumbull, we've had it in the works for a long time. We've never really been able to get it to take off. And I think if we engage Fairfield to, and again, it's Mary Hogue who runs the forestry committee in Fairfield, they have an outstanding tree replacement program. And Dimitri lives in Fairfield too, so he's aware of it. And it's volunteer driven, but it's very specific trees. So people who have lost trees to UI that want to replant either on the town property or the private property, they can have access to these young trees. And the forestry committee helps them to put them in, and puts gator bags around them and waters them so that they'll survive. So they have a really good process there. So maybe on our next meeting, if we could have Mary Hogue from Fairfield Forestry Committee to come in and overview the tree replacement plan there at Fairfield, because it really works well. They've had it running for quite a number of years.
Be great to pick her brain on how they got started there and how they got their residents on board. And so, yeah, I think it'd be great to have her.
Okay.
You want me to?
Mary,
ideally, if we try not to get too many guests at our main meeting. If we have our branch meetings, like the nature outdoorsy branch, it would invite her. So it wouldn't be the whole group of us. It would be the focus group. So it would be.
Yeah,
Mary
I was thinking that we've spent 30 minutes on one topic
Yeah.
so far. We have like 10 to go through.
Yeah,
I just think we need to break into subcommittees and come back and report our progress for each of them moving forward.
Exactly. So
otherwise, we're never going to get through all of this. But
right. Yeah. So let's do that. Move on to our next. I think we're pretty well done on that. So if we could have just as quick as we can, because there's a bit to report here on the next branch, which is waste reduction, which includes recycling, composting, trash cleanups, and green purchasing. And I know there's stuff on all those, but if we can keep it like to a minute or whatever on each of those, then we can move along. So recycling, what do we have? April, Mari, maybe Mary, I don't know. Who wants to report on how that's going? I know April just sent something out too.
So I just have great news to tell everybody. I got off the phone with Stop and Shop actually today, and they have agreed to partner with us to roll out the Trex program for the community here in town. So I will come up with an education plan on how to roll that out to everybody. But they are on board to help us, and it's a 6-month window that we do it through Trex as a community. I think at the end, the big prize is possibly a bench or something, but I think more so it's about the educational process on getting people to recycle more of their, plastic bag type stuff and bringing it to Stop and Shop. Not that Maury and I don't love collecting it on every second Saturday of the month at the high school. For people who don't feel like it's safe right now to go to Stop and Shop, we understand. But for the majority of the community to just go to the stores where they're shopping to return that there. So that's a great move. I'm done. Go ahead, Mari.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm excited to get that going. And we're going to meet on Thursday, as many of you know, with Scarsdale to find out how that's one of the recycling items they do at their transfer station, which I think will be great to find out. I think as many avenues as we can collect to appeal to as many people in the community as we can will be ideal for the plastic and other recycling items. We'll find out.
Super. So how does that work real quick at Stop and Shop? Because I got a big bag of stuff. I used to have right inside between the two automatic doors, there was a place to put it, but that's, I got enough stuff to fill. Is that all the room they have though?
Well,
Actually outside now.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
the
container flip flops between inside the double doors and outside the double doors. So you just got to look to see, but you just, if you fill it, you fill it and it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, just okay. And then they empty it throughout the day.
Okay, so they have regular people looking at that thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just plastic bags.
There's a whole bunch of stuff, Richard. We have it's in the Google Drive.
Okay.
Yeah, please check that out or on the Facebook page. Also, on the second Saturday of the month, Mari and I have been running the recycling drive for all the non-recyclable stuff through TerraCycle. We've collected a bunch of stuff through there. We've got a lot of ink that's going back to Green Planet. And if the ink that goes back to Green Planet should get some funds for us, not a whole lot of funding, but I don't know, if we get anything, I figure it is better than nothing. We have toner cartridges going back to Staples. So hopefully we'll get reward points there. So in case we need to buy paper to print on something, we have it. Again, Mari's doing the textile. We have jeans going out. We have shoes and sneakers going out.
Razor blades.
We have everything. I mean, there's quite an extensive list. And I think the hope is to try to get some of it at the transfer station at some point.
Yeah, we're working with George on that, hopefully.
Right. So just a FYI for those who weren't at that meeting, the waste reduction branch had a meeting with George Strata and talking about how we might work with the Public Works group and George, one of the things George said was that the plan is to upgrade, modernize the transfer station, and he's going to see how much he can work in some of the things from our wish list into the new design, the whole layout of the whole place. So it was a good meeting. Anything else, or should we move on to composting?
I'll just add to the recycling real quick, just in terms of getting information out to everybody. We did work on ABCs of recycling, which lists everything you could possibly imagine. Actually finding things that still aren't on the list, such as holiday lights. I got an email from somebody I know, what do I do with broken holiday lights? I guess Home Depot is not collecting those, but I want to continue to update that. I'm just looking for the group consensus on how and when we want to put that list out to the public, because I think the more information we can get, out is ideal. So do we want to put that on our Sustainable Town webpage eventually in the near future?
Yeah, and it's also, I mean, you go into the town site, and it's had for a long time a list of all the things that can get recycled at the transfer station and all that stuff, and it needs to be updated, I think.
Right. I think that's only the things that they take, which is the single stream recycling and,
Right.
the handful
And
of
scrap
other
metal
things that they do take. But this is like a whole bunch of things that wouldn't be necessarily brought to the transfer station, but that we can advise people what they can do with it instead of throwing it in the trash. That kind
Yeah,
of
so
thing.
Right, so we would have like a more comprehensive list than
Yeah.
what's on the town website now, but would also, you click here to go back to the town website for, you know, the single stream
Right.
stuff or whatever, something like that.
Perfect. I mean, like, ideally, I would love to accommodate every item on that list of what we can do with it, but we can't reasonably do that across the transfer station and recycling drive. There's still too many
Yeah.
things. So at least
Right,
people
right.
can take the initiative if they want to contact the company to recycle their CDs or whatever it be.
And I think on that transfer station list, if we could reference, say, a website, for additional items to be recycled,
Yeah, that's
contact
what
or
we're talking
here.
about.
Yeah, it should go
Yeah.
both ways. If somebody clicks on that, then they should be able to click on
Yeah,
a link that would bring them to us. Vice versa, if
Yeah.
they
Okay.
came to us, a link to click. But so the question is, who would do that? Who would set up this website information on our website, right? We're gonna have a website that will have this information. Is that the
Yeah, I think
thinking?
I think
whoever
it's a
set
good
up our
idea.
webpage. What, Mitch?
No, I think that's a good idea. And also on the, annual or biannual hazardous waste day, they have a link there as well.
Yeah,
So people would be aware that this is what you can recycle a couple times a year, but also here's where you can bring it more or less anytime. Because I think
Right,
those
so-
lists are probably looked at fairly often, relatively speaking. And so we can publicize our own stuff that way.
so
Yeah,
the
they
main
did-
$10,000 question is how do we get this information onto a web page set up exactly?
They
'Cause-
did,
Patty?
they did update, just say on the transfer station, they did add the, if you go onto documents, that's what Mario was saying the other day. I wasn't sure if George had pulled what you had already put out there or not. That's why I wasn't sure, but under documents, they do have, the disposal requirements and everything like that, but they do have that list of what's in, what's out, so you can type
Okay.
in whatever you want. And then they do have an ABC list that's also through the state. So
Right.
that's already up there. So he has updated this since, since we started this project, that the site is updated.
Right.
That's good.
We just
And
want to
now-
make
now-
sure it's specific to Trumbull. That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing, actually, I'm going to bother Bill for a second. Bill, how many people do we have? I know the email just came out for our sustainable meeting. How many people are subscribed? Is that just because I have clicked to get all, or how does that work?
So on the
You know what I
town
mean?
website, we have a notify me feature that
Yeah.
that residents can log into and choose a bunch of different things. So you can subscribe to receiving an email alert when a new calendar event has been added to the town events, or the meeting calendar, or the senior center calendar, or library calendar. You can also subscribe to receive news. So we have a bunch of different news feeds, like the police department has a news feed, senior center, the town obviously does, library. And so once you subscribe to those items, once a new item is posted to the website, you'll receive an email about that.
So nobody's actually subscribed to Sustainable itself unless you clicked on the, I want to receive, everything going out, correct?
Correct. So if somebody would be interested in subscribing to your meetings, they can click on the Sustainable team, and anytime something is added to the Sustainable team calendar, they'll receive an email.
Yeah, that might be thank you. That might be a good idea then, Mari, like even something like that, getting that list out and the what's in, what's out, and it comes out through the town and says the same thing with like our link. So we can have the notification and then also on the webpage.
Okay. We know how to contact for that. Thank you.
Anything else on recycling, or can we go to composting? Composting, who's got
Just
the
a quick
anything?
thing. I think we'll have
Yeah.
more next meeting, but I have a Zoom meeting with the folks from Darien tomorrow. Julie Deschamps from Greenwich put me in touch with Darien and with Scarsdale. So as Mari mentioned, there's a meeting on Thursday at 4:00, Zoom meeting with Scarsdale, and tomorrow at 4:00 with the folks from Darien. And, both of them have pretty robust programs at their transfer station and beyond for recycling and composting. So I just want to find out from them what they've done, how they did it, and just dig a little deeper into it. And I did forward it off to George because as he's looking to update our transfer station, I know he was resistant to composting there, but it's interesting to see that other towns are doing it with, doesn't seem like there's very many problems, but I'll find out more and I'll report back next meeting.
Yeah, I saw your email to George. That was good. Thanks.
Does George
Keep him
have
on the
any
loop on all
timeline? Is there a timeline for updating the transfer station?
I think it's
gonna
an
happen in
ongoing
about a year?
project, Richard.
He said
I'm not
about a
sure
year.
the
About
deadline.
a year, yeah. All right, good. Trash cleanups, anything to report on that? Still going, huh?
We had good luck, yeah.
Mari, I have a question about that. Were you able to get a hold of Clean Swell to find out if we can continually just update? Like like today I picked up a bag of trash at Indian Ledge. Can we continually go in? Do we know?
Yes, the lady at Save the Sound gave me instructions and she said she could walk me through doing it, and I haven't had a chance to look at it. But what I can do is forward you the email, and then maybe collectively we can figure out. But I think we can just create a name, and then we can log it like Trumbull town cleanups instead of fall cleanups, and we can sort it. She said she could always help us, but I don't want to have to bother her all the time. So we'll talk about it. But yeah, maybe we can do like a monthly formal one. I heard from people that were participating I didn't even know about, so we could talk about it offline.
Green purchasing, Mary, you had sent to Kevin Bova and Vicki, I think, right?
Yeah, and then I forgot to include Rob, so I just sent him a copy
Okay.
after. But so basically, I just sent to Kevin, and Kevin is the purchasing agent, and to Vicki today, and it was really just a Glastonbury. Their purchasing policy is it's very well written, but it's obviously go green, see what you can, see how much you can accomplish with green purchasing, but it doesn't take the fiscal responsibility out of it, which of course is important. So, I mean, no town is going to, unfortunately, is going to spend more than they have to just to have something green, even though we would love that to be the case. So anyway, I sent them an example of that. And so hopefully they will get back to us. There was also a presentation that was done with a few different people around the country. And so I just sent that to them as well. So it just gave ideas. If your department is doing their own purchasing and it doesn't have to go through the agent, like say you're going through Staples and you're just doing your regular office supplies and they're not main big ones that's, you're going to use through the town. So the screen will pop up as normally a green one. So it would direct you to like the, where the printer cartridges that you return. So it might, send you to that. It'll send you to recycled paper versus non-recycled, things like that. So they can arrange around that. So I just said that for Kevin to take a look at, and we'll see. Hopefully, hopefully they'll be able to take a look at it and we can add that. And that is points towards silver sustainable as well. So we'll see.
Thank you. Anything else in the waste reduction branch of our tree?
Just real quick, I was going to try to sit in on that CCSMM meeting.
Oh,
I didn't
right,
know,
right.
Mary, we were talking about it quickly. I just want to clarify, was that open to just community members, or is it supposed to be town members? I just kind of wanted to peek in and see what it's about. If I'm not working, I'll try to sit in on the meeting.
Yeah, I sent to him this morning. I didn't hear back yet.
Okay,
But that's what I was trying to figure out. Is it layperson or is it really town? Being that you're, that we're part of this committee, that might kind of count towards if they're trying to just get people that are involved on the town scale. This might classify as
if
that.
nothing else, their website definitely posts a lot of presentations that are really helpful, and they're clearly collectively as a state brainstorming on a lot of these programs that are being implemented even by volunteers, it looks like, across lots of towns. So we can just use it as a resource if we can't attend the meeting. So I'll try to report with the appropriate people on the topics I'm finding about.
Since Hartford's closing, I think that's the plant, I think that's a biggie. So
Yeah.
I would assume that I did want to send George that information as well for
Good,
either
yeah.
somebody in his department, but that's obviously going to be a big point of discussion on that part.
Oh,
So
I have one question for both Mary and Mari, or one of the other, but who spoke to curbside compost last spring? And did we get
I
a
did.
proposal from them?
That what?
Did we get a proposal from them?
They were going to charge, they were coming to Mary Hoag's presentation, which then got canceled. And so what they had done for Fairfield, we were trying to do in Trumbull as well. It was, I believe, $32 a month. And they were going to give to the first, and I don't remember now if it was 10 or 20 people that had signed up for their service to give them a free month.
But is there a proposal from them? Because
I believe I have one. Mary, we had overlapped on that. I don't know why,
Okay.
but I have an email from a guy, Nick. It might be
Yeah.
outdated. It might be, they might be offering different things now, but I have some general information on pricing for both town pickup at a transfer station as well as curbside pickup. I'll forward that to you.
Great, because then I'll pick it up and I'll work, because I have a proposal from Action Waste, which is a company that's looking to expand either to Trumbull or to Norwalk. So I would like to have proposals from both.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'll forward you the email, Pam, and you can take over. Thanks.
So I just have one question on this topic. This morning, we had a meeting with MetroCog, which is our 6-town council of government. And we had a speaker from Kristen Brown from Waste Zero, Food Waste and Smart Programs in Connecticut. And it was really interesting and probably things that you've already kind of have been able to dive into. But I found that the towns that are mirror towns, which are around Hartford, where they're closing the facility, have been offered a 1-year pilot for pay as you throw. And it was really an interesting program, and it reduced the amount of waste for the towns that have been doing this pilot. And this has been done in all over the country and in Europe as well, where you pay. So she was talking about this, and I was just wondering if, in your conversations with George, has Trumbull ever considered doing a pilot for pay as you throw?
Fortunately, no. We did bring that up with him when we met a while ago, and the Greenwich has done one. I don't know if they were on the call, but I was looking at the Smart, where if this is the same, you buy the bag and yes. And so I thought it was a pretty interesting idea. Greenwich, they didn't have enough information at the time when we were talking to George about it. So then COVID hit. But it is interesting, because if you're going to, decrease, especially if we're going to composting and trying to do those type things, if you can decrease your garbage haul enough, then your taxes are going to definitely go down because of the tipping fees. And so it really does, it works on both sides and really encourages that composting, because you're purchasing the bag. So I thought it was a great idea. And if you have info from that, I think that would be super to, bring up again, and to see what the towns, if they're having any savings, if it's a kind of net zero, but it's doing the right thing. I mean, I would assume they're having savings, but of course, then you've got to break out those that just started composting as well. But it sounds like I thought it was a very good idea.
Yeah, there were a couple of Connecticut towns that they have done it, and they've reduced. So I guess it's typically, the average is about 900 pounds a year of garbage that in some towns that have done this have gone down to 386 pounds per capita. 386 pounds of garbage per year per capita, and they saved a tremendous amount of money. And yeah, it is a bag program. In Europe, they do it. Apparently, they have multiple bags, like 6 different color bags. So sorted in, or let's say you have a big pull-out area, and having them sort, and then these different color bags go into one, curbside thing. And then the bags are sorted at the facility. And so one goes to compost, organic, one goes to glass, one goes to, Europeans are a little different than we are, but it would be kind of an interesting program, especially if they've proven such cost savings for residents and for the town. It might be a cool pilot program to do here. So I'll see if I can get the slides that Kristen Brown did today. And, I'll send them to you guys to take a look at. So it'd be cool.
That'd be great. Now, do they provide the bags for free? Or do you-
So what you do is you purchase the bags. So the bigger bags are like $1.80 each, and the smaller bags are 90 cents each, and it's based on the color and size bags. That's where your cost comes in.
Right.
Because they know
Does it have to be done on a whole town-wide thing? Like the whole town would do it? The town would adopt it?
That's a good question. She seemed to imply that yes, it was by town. Rather than districts. I guess they need enough people in an area for them to come in with special trucks. I don't even know where or if they're sorting. They have to be sorting them up in those Mira communities, which are outside of Hartford. So they must have some sorting facility up there. But I think she implied that in Connecticut, we would do like two separate bags, one for organic waste and one for everything else. So
And these are sort of more or less kitchen garbage can size bags.
Yeah.
So you could have them in your kitchen, for example.
Yeah. So it was kind of cool to see the pictures of, I shared a picture from Oslo, Norway, where it just was like this avalanche of these colored bags coming down out of the truck. So there was no mess. The whole place was completely clean.
Wow.
And it was just like, it looked like big bags of candy coming out.
Oh, wow.
And then it goes through this conveyor where robots separate the bags by color, and then they go off to their self-sorting. So really cool. I mean, I was really amazed at, but what we're doing in Connecticut, I guess there are these pilots going on, and the towns that are doing them are really having a significant impact. Portland, Maine has they have one of the lowest in the Northeast, 286 pounds of garbage per capita per year, Portland, Maine. So if they could do it, certainly Trumbull could do this.
These programs sound amazing.
I'm sorry?
I just said these programs sound amazing. I think if you get roped into something and reduce everyone's footprint, that would be great.
And in California is doing this more or less. At least they have multiple streams where your kitchen, you have, I'm not sure it's 4 or 5 or 6 different streams where you throw this and that and the other one.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely discourages people from throwing out. And that's, one of the things that we definitely want to start looking into as we go forward is that PR aspect of you really don't need to, like I said for Thanksgiving, how much are you really going to eat? How much are you going to throw out? What do you do with things? Do you, bring it someplace? Do you donate? Do you buy less? Do all those type things? So when people are seeing their pocketbook put out there, I think that's a huge encouragement.
Yeah.
I just
So
hope
I
it
wanna
wouldn't
move on here
contribute to
before we
more trash. Sorry.
No, go ahead,
I'm just
Maury. I just
wondering
want
if
to,
it
you want to wrap it
contributes-
up and then we'll go on to the next thing?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just thinking out loud. I was just saying, I hope it doesn't lead to more littering because people have to
Yeah, I
pay
was
for
thinking
their
the same
trash,
thing.
but-
Exactly, that could.
I
could
know,
happen.
and somebody did ask that question, so that's a really good question. And she said, and she's been doing this for 30 years. She's, I guess, a consultant who's gone all over the country, and surprisingly, they have not seen that, because they've shown that it's actually, something that needs to be addressed in advance for the town, and to just show people that it actually is cheaper to do it this way. So they save money. Yeah, so that's a big question. I know, I thought that too. People are going to be throwing stuff. But the good thing is that it really, you pay for what you throw. So for, senior citizens that don't generate a lot of trash, they would pay the least.
Right.
So
It's definitely an incentive. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, we're almost an hour in here, so let's get on to our third branch. Mari, do you want to handle the energy transportation? Anything about that? I know
Yeah.
we did talk a little bit with George, and you might have some other items to talk about.
Well, good news is there's not much to report. Since we met with George, we found out that he has not done any new energy analysis for the municipal buildings yet, but I did forward him the information since the meeting about the actions, and I'm going to look into how to use the Energy Star tracking a little bit, maybe check with another town that might be using it and report back to him. So nothing new to report this month on that.
All right, sounds good. And then nothing really on electric vehicles or idling, anything there, right? All right. So, Energy Star, hold on.
Actually, Eileen, I'm sorry, I am going to work with Rob on getting signage for idling. And
Okay.
Once the Board of Ed is, at this point, the buses are, they know to turn the buses off unless they have to keep them on because of temperature. So that's really not a big deal, but there aren't that many places in town where, it would be applicable. Obviously, Starbucks drives me crazy every time I drive past there. I don't think anybody in that line would turn their car off anyway. I think they're all angry because they're waiting so long. But so for spots where we can get, because they were giving away the free signs, so where we can get some of those signs, put them up, work with the Board of Ed as parents are sitting at carpool. That's a huge line every day that sits there and waits for the kids to come out, turn the engine off. So that'll be something that we can start doing. There was also, Rena had sent something the other day, I wish Rob was on, but it was a discussion where there's grant money that is out there. It's federal congestion management air quality. So there's some funds that are out there that towns can apply for. And so we're going to have a discussion with George on where he thinks that we might be able to apply for something. The problem is it's a matching grant. So whether the town would be able to put funding into it to match areas that he's looking at, but some of the things that are part of that are the vehicles, to start changing your vehicle deployment and to start changing parts out that are less are less effective on the air quality. So we'll see where that goes.
Thank you. Moving on to our outreach. The first item, I talked with April yesterday a little bit about it. Haven't really proceeded, but we're getting ready to reach out on that. Students, there's a number of interested students, I guess. Mari, April, who wants to talk about that a little bit?
I can go. I mean, we've been responding. I think it's good if we, make sure we have a point person responding to the Gmail inquiries. I think we just got an influx of them because of the Hillcrest project, but I just wanted to make sure we were all consistent with what we're relaying. And April and I decided yesterday that we were going to set up a Google Classroom for interested students. And we're just going to proceed with having a little youth subgroup under us. And if the high school has an environmental club that does run, we can collaborate with them and see which projects that we're working on that some of the students might want to work on, and or if they have something else that they want some of our students help with. But because we have a combination of middle and high schoolers showing interest, I think we should just create a classroom. We'll have different subgroup topics of things they can be working on, such as outreach on the bottle bill. I think if students, put together a spiel that they can share with the entire student body and get a lot of names on board, students like signing up, I think, under an initiative, not necessarily starting it from scratch. We are going to look at the foam trays, trying to get those reduced. I emailed Wilton, Tammy something from Wilton, who got that taken care of in Wilton. She got rid of this foam trays. So we'll have some students helping us with that. Whoever wants to add stuff, we can add folders, right, April, under the classroom. And I just thought that's a good way for students to interact with each other online, since they can't be meeting regularly in person.
Yes, so how does Google Classroom work? How does that work?
I could talk to you about it offline.
Okay.
The kids are using it middle school, high school, actually from grades 3 on. That's how they're getting into their meets, and all their work is in there. So it's a while.
All right, so that's cool.
It's
It's
very
like
friendly.
the folders, Kevin, but they can interact with each other too. Sorry, go ahead, April.
Yeah, that's good.
So also on the outreach front, talking with the PTSA, they are on board to help with the recycling at Trex at all the schools, to also do the Crayola / like BIC recycling. We got to figure out which company is going to be up and running in the fall, but they're going to do some lead work now. So we're ready to go then. And the PTSA is also would like to be in the mix to have the conversation with the Board of Ed at some point, maybe after the budget season kind of goes through a little bit, but to start really looking at funding and getting rid of the trays and making their cafeterias sustainable again. So we have some partners over there.
Real quick, April, do you think the way the email that you forwarded said about budget, do you think there's any budget available that we could get maybe some of the TerraCycle collection bins at the schools? Because they definitely, the TerraCycle, the zero waste boxes, they did have one for markers and pens, but they required us buying the boxes. That would be then free shipping back. What do you think?
I think the boxes right now are like $100 each. So I think we
Yeah,
need
they're a
to,
lot.
right now Crayola is free, but they're
Right.
just not running. So I would like to probably go with the cheaper version if we
Yeah.
can. And then we'll go from there, because I'd probably rather see the cafeterias switch over a couple at a time if we could get some match grant funding or something to help them with that.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Good. Anything else?
Kevin,
there
once we
on
get the classroom going, do you want to add something about a sustainable plan and see if there's a student
Yeah,
interested in?
absolutely. Yeah, let me know when
Okay.
you're ready for me to do that.
I don't know how to use the classroom yet completely
I don't
either,
even know
so
what
I'm
it
just-
is hardly, so.
I'm hoping we can liaison into it.
I could train you guys on it. I just need the password to the email to set it up. So that's
Oh
what
yeah,
I'll
did
need.
Shelby get back to you with that?
No. So, but I think we're all set on that topic, Kevin.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good.
All right, let's see, nothing really to report on, if we're done on students, then nothing that I have to report on businesses. Anybody else reach out to any businesses on sustainability issues?
No, but that was one of the things we were going to ask the students to do too, to reach out to possibly the local businesses in town and work on their more sustainable, eco-friendly like containers that they do all the takeout with, and see how the students could push some of that through.
All right, that's good.
Even just having them ask. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, even having the students ask restaurants to ask people if they want plastic utensils instead of throwing them in the bag automatically. Little things. I know that's what Mary Hogue said the students were doing in Fairfield. So
Straws, things like that, don't always put a straw down and, but I say it's too bad there isn't a, like a consortium of purchasing for all the restaurants to be using the same type thing so that they could get bulk purchasing over all these restaurants. I mean, unfortunately now it's tough for any business right now to look at doing anything other than trying to stay afloat. But maybe those even small ways that, will help them a little bit on some savings.
Next item I have up is community, and that's really community outreach. We talked a little bit about the website, social media. Anybody want to report anything on?
Yes, I have a question about our website. We've got a page on the town's site. Do we want to think about in the next 12 months having our own website? Or a link to a page that is just ours, that is designed with our own updates and initiatives? And because if you look at even Sustainable Fairfield, they have a website. They have their logo up, they have what's happening, they have newsletters. And I don't know that we're there yet, but I didn't know if we wanted to think about that as a goal to work toward in 2021.
Yeah, it kind of gets back to who's going to run the thing. If you get some good students who like to, run websites and develop them, then that's great. But I don't know if that obviously the time isn't here yet for that. But yeah, that's what I'd like to see too.
Are we allowed to do that? because I love the idea. I just don't know like the politics behind it. Is that something we're allowed to do?
It would have to go, it would go through the same process, since we aren't independent. We aren't a commission, let's say, so we do have different rules. We don't have to vote on everything and do all that, although we are finally official. But I would think that it would first have to be approved. I don't see a problem with it getting approved, and the information that's on there. Pam, I was wondering what that was. That's the funniest thing. I thought it was your hair. It's the
My
tail.
cat,
I just thought the hair, I was like, what is it doing?
he wants
Sorry.
supper, and he is jumping on me every 2 seconds for supper.
I thought something really funky was going on with your hair. But I mean, the fact that the information isn't controversial or anything like that. I mean, some things I think would need approval. We can't just say, hey, we're pushing for getting our fleet of buses to be, all powered versus diesel, and, things like that. So, we have to keep that same thought about it. It's not really a progressive type thing. We are still part of the town. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, I do look at Fairfield for a lot of things, when you go through the towns, and the towns that are doing the most are the ones that have branched off and just have so much information to supply, so.
Yep. All right. I saw this, yesterday, I saw this group called Buy Nothing. Is anybody?
Yeah.
I just
You're
got,
familiar with that?
yeah, I just got on today.
What's your take on it? I didn't really look into it. I just discovered it.
It's great.
Is
There's two Facebook pages in town. The Buy Nothing is one of them, and then there's also a Trumbull free Facebook page where you post stuff on the free page that you just want to give away for free. But the Buy Nothing, whatever, you ask if you're searching for something or if you're looking to get rid of something, but it doesn't necessarily go to the first person who replies to it. You could make a game out of who you decide to give the item to on the Buy Nothing page. So both of them have over I think 1,000 people on each page at this point in town. And it's just for in-town people, run by moms in town. They both have I think 2 administrators or 3 on each page.
What's the second one? Buy Nothing, and what's the other one?
Hang on, I can tell you, just give me a second. I just got to look up the exact name. It's called Trumbull Neighbor Giving.
Trumbull Neighbor Giving.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give everything to good.
Are we a presence there? Are we, does it make sense for us to be a presence there? Just, I mean, it's people with the same mindset. We might not be doing the same thing, but just to let people know, hey, this is what's recycling in town, since they're sort of in that mindset.
These aren't necessarily recycling sites. I mean, they're definitely stopping this stuff from going right into your garbage can. And a lot of it's great stuff. I could literally shop on here for Christmas gifts right now. But it's not necessarily some people have these big plastic bins. They were like, oh, can anyone use these before I recycle them? And people are like, yeah, I could use it for this. So people are, I think, putting some random stuff on there that is keeping stuff from going into the recycling bins right away. But it's mostly really good items, like a tag sale, except you're willing to give it away for free versus asking for money for it. I think that's the difference. Or the step before maybe you go to Goodwill.
Minimally, we could put it on our Facebook page as a share, just as with the mission is to cut down what you're throwing away and mention those pages.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Not to take up too much time, but kind of going back to that recycling ABC list, Mary, you had shared there was a town that alphabetically went through things, and it kind of gave you a how to reuse it, recycle it, and then if it was 3 little paragraphs for every single item. So let's say you had holiday lights, it would say, does it work? If so, donate it, and then it would list. And it was redundant for a lot of things. So it might list the Trumbull Facebook page, Goodwill, whatever. If it's broken, can you recycle it? Call Home Depot, see if it's available. If not, last item, trash. Or if it's something that's recyclable, then that would be the last step. But it kind of walked through. It's a more elaborate than our Excel ABC spreadsheet, which I kind of would like to evolve to, but I just didn't know a 7-page Excel spreadsheet, breaking it down that way would be a 30-page document. So it's something that we can evolve, and maybe some of our students are more creative and have time to make a really glamorous PDF or something that could be 30 pages that people would scroll through and alphabetically or something. But I think that component of it, of the buy nothing or find a place for it, which that could be one of them, is a great first step for things, because not everything has to be recycled. It could be reused first, right? That's my, sorry to rant, but.
Great.
I think I got that. I think Fairfield had that, and that's what when we started looking into it, like they had specific stores that were in Fairfield that bring, like as you're saying, bring your sneakers to InSports and drop them off. So they had, so I think it was Fairfield that I pulled that from. Actually, I didn't look at I never opened up the town one to see if we have that on there, if they have that.
Well, I think we can put that on the students list. I think it's a great winter project. And again, even if it's redundant, listing the same thing, the recycling drive, the transfer station, a Facebook page, whatever it be, but breaking that down, I think it would be really user friendly. And we can even just put the PDF on our town sustainable page for now. I think that would be good.
Anybody want to add anything about any of the other towns? We've already talked about some of them, Darien and Greenwich and Wilton and Scarsdale. Any other town, and Fairfield, any other towns that we haven't talked about who we want to partner with or otherwise engage with? Good. Next. Our own town departments, we've talked with George. Are we looking to meet with Dimitri or the Parks Commission or anything as far as trying to hammer out some of the issues we've talked about related to parks and outdoors and nature or anything like that?
I feel like with Dimitri, you need a very focused agenda, because when you grab him, when you're able to grab his attention, you want to make hay. So I don't think we're there yet.
Okay.
I did, just on that subject, I did hear back from Dimitri. Pam, I asked him about those plants, and he said he specified the plants and their placement, but thankfully he didn't have to plant them. So that was part of the contract of doing it, but he said that he believes they are native. And believes, and they are, who knows, but you know, I think it is a good idea, as I said, for different areas, especially like Pam, Mary Ellen, you guys are so, as I said, I'll get impatient because I can't kill them. But other than that, I am really bad at everything that is plants. So with the knowledge that you guys have, I definitely think that's important for, you know, as I said, complexes coming in and things like that. But I think it's definitely worth keeping Dimitri in that loop of being in contact to say, you know, we're here for advice, help, volunteering, getting people, you know, this and that. I just think that's a good idea to keep, you know, that aspect there.
But is it, Dimitri, for instance, where the Dunkin' Donuts was, where they're putting in that new building now, where the Marissa's parking lot, when that gets landscaped, who is that the town, or is that a private contractor? Like, how would we create a pollinator pathway station there? Who would we talk to?
It's kind of like both, but that's what I was referring to, the apartments. So the ones that were at the mall, I mean, that was a huge, you know, huge ordeal for various reasons. But one of the things that P&Z will make sure they do is to adhere to specific things. So it's not just sidewalks and amount of space between cars in the parking lots. They also did go in, and that was one of the areas that they made sure that it was applied, was that these were native plantings. And that's not town property. So I would think even with town property, we'd have even more of a say. But so that's kind of where I was referring to it. I'm not sure who the driver is on that, but I definitely think with P&Z, that's an important part of, as things are being developed, that this portion does get put into it of natives and pollinator pathways. And you know, I said if Mary Ellen, they have that list and it shows, you know, people do sign up and it shows on a map, where is your pollinator pathway, which is kind of a fun interactive type thing. And I think that the more that we broaden that in Trumbull, and we have a lot of opportunities with new developments.
Mhm. So Pam, I have a copy of the landscape architect planting plan for that development at Marissa's. So the developer contractor, they hired a landscape architect to draw up a planting plan. And I distinctly remember that, and I'll send a copy of it to you. They were native plants and very pollinator oriented at the time. So that was really good news. I was happy to see that. And because, inland wetland actually reviews the landscape plans before they go to P&Z. And inland wetland, almost without exception, pushes native plants in the plans. So by the time it gets to planning and zoning, it's not really their wheelhouse to look for native plants, but the plans should be done. But then they call in the tree warden only to review these landscape architect plans. And I think that these plans should be reviewed by another commission in addition to the tree warden. Because, especially with this concept of native plants and pollinator pathway, this is kind of a new direction. And so we'd like to try and catch as many of these plans and applications as they come in. So I'll get you the plan for that Marissa's one because it is very good. I do have to say so, but it's not to say that we can't add or subtract things from it or, sustainable Trumbull, we should be able to look at it, and the Conservation Commission. We used to have 2 landscape architects on the Conservation Commission, but we don't anymore. So we'll have to work on that.
Do they go to you, Mary Ellen, Conservation at all, or just inland wetlands to P&Z?
The plans that go to, they come to Conservation and inland wetlands, so we do see them. And we typically meet a week before inland wetlands so that we can review the plans first and then make recommendations to inland wetlands. So that's the process of conservation, inland wetland, then planning and zoning. And as long as it goes in that direction, we usually see them first. So that's how it has worked in the past. So we can catch the landscaping plans. But not always. Like if it doesn't go to inland wetland at all, it doesn't come to conservation. So that process needs to change. So that's something we'd have to work on.
All right. I don't know if there's any other discussions about any of the other town departments that we need to cover. I think anybody else have any items to talk about with regard to any of the other town departments?
Oh, one more quick kind of comment question. Are the zoning regulations finished yet? Because that would be one place where we have something like that. Because as Mary Ellen mentioned, things that aren't wetlands related, none of us would ever see them. So the P&Z would be the only way to catch everything that has a landscape plan. Although if it's not inland wetlands involved, there may not even be a need for one, unless it's a commercial place.
I don't know if they finished those now that you say that. I know there was a delay that when we were putting to bronze certification, I remember I asked about that for something that I was doing. I don't remember what it was now, of course. But I don't know if they were ever approved or not. If they finished that, I can check. But that's a good point to add that in there.
All right, moving on to strategic planning and organizational issues. All right, so this was the first item here was clarification of the members of the sustainability team. I went through each of the 3 town council resolutions to just make sure that everybody was on that. That is what we think it is. So it ends up being 2 people from conservation, 1 from ECDC, 1 from TNAC, 3 from the public, and 1 from town council, plus Rob. That's what I got. So it all worked out. Everything's great. So
one thing we do need to check though is, as I said in the last the last economic meeting, Shelby did seem as though he was taking a step further back. So I do think we need to find out if they just put 2 new people on economic. So I'm not sure about their interest or ability, moving to this, but to see if, what's going to go on with Shelby.
Okay, that's a good point. Next item is approval of our meeting schedule for next year, which I saw somewhere, but now I don't know where it is ahead of me. Does anybody have that? I think it might be on the town website. Actually, I'm on the town website. Let's see.
Yes, it's on. If you go to sustainable team, and the link is there.
Yeah,
there it is. Team meeting schedule. Anybody have any major issues with any of those?
Yeah, somebody had the April 12th meeting. Somebody mentioned school break moved to the following week. I mean, maybe that's a good idea. It doesn't involve me, but maybe depends on how it involves any of you guys at all.
Yeah, I don't know, Mari, April.
I don't think we're really going anywhere this year, so I think we're good.
Probably be good for the.
And we can
again.
Yeah, no, we can leave it up. Patty had said she does because the calendar does get set the year in advance. So I have TBD there just so point of discussion, but she does need an actual date. Worst case, we could put it down, I said that, and also that second Monday is Columbus Day, I believe. Is that
Right,
October?
October.
And so
Yep.
we can put those 2 dates down, and if we want to change them, we just need to change, we can change them at the time. So, whatever people think.
All right, so we're pretty flexible as far as it all goes.
Yeah,
So should I leave for the 12th then? And what was that? And October 11th?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the town requirements, is it 14 days or 7 days that we have to notify the town of any changes? Now that we're an official group.
The new charter is coming out in December, and I should know this. I believe it's 48 hours that we need to make a change. It's either 24 or 48, but we'll know well in advance if we want to switch the date.
That probably makes sense, just to keep those dates and we can adjust.
Yeah.
Need be then.
Okay, so everybody's good with that?
So.
Okay, so I'll follow up with Patty and give her those dates.
Can I just ask Bill a question? Bill, would we be using the same Zoom link every meeting, or would you be sending out a different one monthly?
A new meeting link will be generated for every meeting.
Okay.
Makes it more secure.
What's the second Monday in April?
April 12th.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm saying that. Let me just confirm.
October is the 13th.
Yeah, it's the 12th.
Not the 3rd, okay. 12th and then the 11th for October, okay.
And of course, 3 o'clock is our firm date going forward until the cows come home, I guess.
Yeah, it's good. All right. So let's, I'm going to put, if we have any branch meetings or anything, just put whoever takes minutes for it, whenever there's a branch meeting, just put those minutes on the Google Drive under minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then anybody can see them. And then if I draft minutes, please go in and add things, change them, whatever. It's just my drafts. I'm not official. And I miss half the stuff. So please go in and add things. Like when I put this on there, I'll let you know and you can go in and do it.
But
Awesome.
Kevin, won't you get a raise for doing the minutes?
Yeah, they're going to double my salary from what I
Good.
Are we required to take minutes under our subgroups? I mean, it's like if April and I are.
I don't think
talking-
we're required to, no, because it's just
Not a quorum.
helpful. I mean, I did it when we had our meeting with George because I thought it was helpful just to have that, and
Sure.
anybody can see, how we're doing.
Well, I have
It's a
a
little bit of a
question,
pain.
follow-up question to the Google Drive thing and the amount of emails that we're all getting. My dog comes caroling in. to follow up on the meetings I'm having this week, would you all prefer that I just send you a link? Here's a link to the Google Drive with what happened. Like, you don't want me to write it all up and email everybody.
Right. Yeah,
So I just feel
exactly.
like just to keep it kind of tighter.
Yeah,
Is that a better
Yeah,
policy?
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
that sounds great.
Mhm.
I did something, there's where to find it.
Yeah. You can
And
give it
even though it's more
2
emails,
sentences
but
and-
if you have a comment or you want to bring up something to the group unrelated to the email thread, to me, it's helpful when I'm searching. I search sometimes for the topic to start a
Right.
new thread with the group, even though it's more
Yeah.
emails, but rather than having multiple topics.
Yeah, because I'm looking for stuff under something, but it's actually under a different, subject line, and I'm like, what the?
Exactly.
It's hard to find things that way.
What you can
So
also
that's
do
good.
to organize your emails, if you want to, drag them into a folder somewhere. If you want, the email does not have to be necessarily in the email client. Although if you get email from the cloud, I'm not sure how that works, but if you use, like, say, Outlook, for example, they're on your computer and we just drag them into a folder wherever you keep your data.
Getting close to the end here. State grant funding. Anybody want to talk about state grant funding, or are we sort of too early for?
Well, just with Mary Ellen, just to clarify for that, the fund that Jim had spoken of, Rena got back to us on that, the land fund that Jim brought up for the NRI. And so we need to reach out to them to see what their plan is for releasing funding and when. It seems like it's a fairly quick process once, if you're applying for the correct thing. And so the town already did put that money, the 7 million for the properties, Hardy Lane was already put aside. So that portion, obviously, I don't know if they do anything retroactively, which would be nice, but I doubt they will. But there might be other ways to work with supporting the Pequannock because it does butt up against that part of the property, or continuing to keep it open space. And then, our other areas where we're talking about the invasives creeping in and what can we do? And if we, can work with other communities as well that are along that corridor there. But so I didn't know if your person wants to get in touch with the with the state to figure that out, or tie in with Rena and figure out. It looks like it's kind of like the ball is kind of in our court for getting to that next step.
Yeah, okay. So, his name's John Massari. He actually, I think you know him, Kevin. He works at the
he does the archery.
He
does archery lessons. Yep.
Yes. So apparently he has connections and affiliation with one of the DEP departments. And so I wanted to throw this by him to see if he could help us, just reach out with this particular grant, because I've never applied for one of these before, DEP. So yeah, all right. So I will, we're actually, he's in the process of being sworn in onto the Conservation Commission. So I'll ask him. Yeah, Mary, okay.
Did I send you the name of the woman that was involved from Jim Heim's office?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got that, perfect. So she could probably, hopefully get any information or any questions that he may have.
Yeah, okay, great, thank you.
Cool. So we talked about a few people have kicked around the idea of having a sustainability plan for the town, creating one. Seeing as we're doing all these things sustainability wise, it would be nice to document it in a formal way. To create a sustainability plan would be ideally we get some students, some motivated students involved to help along the way. It's a bit of a sustainability plans are often very substantial documents, as ours would be for this town, as you can tell from all the different actions and sub-actions. And a work in progress, always a work in progress. So it's something that requires ongoing attention. And I think it's a good way to, and if students are interested, to engage them. So we'll talk about maybe in the Google Classroom, as that could be something that they could do. They could, if they're interested, to help develop our sustainability plan, formalize it, write it up, however, and then sustainability plans are great. It's for maybe have one for the school, if the kids or the students in the school want to come up with a sustainability plan for the school. Again, it's rather than just doing things, you can actually think about it and say, here's what we want to do, and here's how we're going to track our progress. It's a good way to, track everything that you're doing. So
well, Fairfield has a very comprehensive one, and they have the goals for the future. So
yeah,
and part of it is with the state and federal guidelines. So if we're trying to go, to have X% of your fleet needs to be, energy efficient vehicles by X date, and the same thing with recycling. So they also have that as part of it as well. It'd be great to just switch out and just put Trumbull instead of Fairfield, because it's very well done. But it definitely does. It'll get us to be a little more organized in every area as to what we're looking to the future for.
And then the last item I have is under sustainable CT is to request those points. So Mari and Pam, I'll look for what you had sent before. If I can't find it, because you did, I think, both sent me some details on exactly what it was that we had applied for, that we should have gotten points for, but we didn't. So I don't know, Mary, if you had anything too, or if everything was covered from your end. But I know Pam and Mari both had specific items. So
I might have had on communications for one. I have to go back and check on that. But the 2021, that's another thing. Some of the things that changed for 2021, I don't know if they'll box us out and say that you have to make adjustments for 2021.
Yeah, so I want to get it in. I want to get it in before the end of this year for sure.
Yeah.
Before they have a chance to change anything else.
Can I just say one more thing? Sorry, can I just say one more thing before we possibly wrap it up?
Yep.
Would anybody oppose if I sat on the PTSA to help oversee all these programs being facilitate them out through all the PTAs in the schools, or is somebody else interested in that? Or
go for it.
Okay, everybody for April vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
would be fantastic.
I just want to make sure, not that I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do this and someone else really, wanted to. So, okay, no problem. I
was really hot to do it, but I don't have any kids or students and I know nothing about it. So over to you.
Details.
It's all good.
So April, you're going to say that again, exactly what it is you're going to do with PTSA?
I'm going to work with PTSA to get all of the recycling initiatives that we've been talking about out to all the PTAs across the district. Also the pollinator pathways. So we are up and ready to run for the fall, with possibly, talking with the Board of Ed to trying to revamp some of their kitchens and seeing what we could do to help them with those aspects.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And try.
Sounds good. So what's the deal? The PTAs, the PTSA and the PTA, just real quick.
So it's like an umbrella organization. Every school has a PTA, and the PTAs
and PTSA is the town.
Yeah, and the PTSA oversees it. Where not every town has a PTSA, but most towns have PTAs in their school. So
it's like the high school is a PTSA because students are also part of the body. So they sit on the PTA board. So that's why they're PTSA. And then the PTSA council is in charge of all the PTAs. And I think Tech Ec might be a PTO. I don't remember if they switched over. Okay, so everybody else except for the high school's PTA, high school's PTSA, because they get that student involvement.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And one interesting thing, if you do go onto Greenwich and check on their pay as you throw, they do have a lot of info up there for that. But one of their little memes or whatever, pay as you throw in Greenwich would have the same environmental impact as installing 25,000 solar panels in town. So they probably have a lot of good information on here from what they have just done and they, cost. So they've expanded what they had from when they, started as the pilot.
Oh, just a side note here, I just got a weather notice for Southern Connecticut, winter storm watch, blah, 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 Wednesday afternoon through Thursday afternoon. They've upped the snow from 12 to 17 inches
Nice.
and very windy.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Winter's here.
Forward to it. Welcome winter. All right, and that's all I have. Anybody else have any items to discuss?
Good job, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, for
Thank
moderating.
you.
Yeah, that was a big
You're
agenda.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you,
welcome. So we're
Bill.
breaking out. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, sure thing.
35.
Everybody.